looking at the executive grant of clemency here, this is what I think the real deal is, right? So he's pardoned from a period that begins January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024. Mm-hmm. It's not the cases he's been found guilty on. It's the cases that he was never brought to trial on. The other things that we know or we feel in our hearts are a lot more egregious, a lot more offensive, and maybe even crimes against the United States. This is a preventive measure. I mean, you look at the folks that are going to be in these jobs in 2 months. They're going to go back. They were going to go back and look at this on behalf of the American public. After all, the accusations of influence peddling is huge.
Yeah.
This protects Hunter Biden from, in my mind, true justice. And it's a true travesty against everybody in this country, no matter what political party you're in.
It is a travesty. You know, if you really think about this, Melania Trump has her closet raided by Merrick Garland's DOJ, and then Biden's White House pardons his son. People see the disparity. But what bothers me most here, and I want to pull up her picture, are the innocent Americans that have been prosecuted, and you could say tortured by the Biden DOJ, one of whom is Paulette Harlow, 76 years old, convicted in a court of law, 2-year prison sentence. She has medical ailments. She stood in front of a pro-life clinic with 9 others peacefully, and she's prosecuted under a little U statute. She's currently at Alexandria Detention Center. But Harris Faulkner, she gets no pardon.
So are we shocked that the president's son is getting special treatment? Are we shocked that a guy who pulled off a stunt on Capitol Hill because he wanted to flout a subpoena in the middle of the investigations was allowed to do so? Are we shocked that his dad would give him not just a little bit of a pardon, but a wiping away of 10 years that maybe he might even be able to testify against his father now without the move of, oh, it might jeopardize me criminally?
Without getting the wires crossed, without it being a conflict of interest, it does clear the way for a lot of things here. And again, she shares my exact sentiments, which are like, come on now. We all know nepotism exists. Let's not pretend like a favor for a favor or a favor for a family member or a friend isn't a thing, especially in politics. We've seen it. It's a not so hidden secret of politics. Like they do friends or they do favors for friends. Like it's a good old boys club, as they call it, which operates on favors. So for Biden to do this move as his presidency closes out, as he's leaving the office, it really doesn't surprise anybody. Like that's why people were asking, because it was a move that was suspected by many. So where's the true surprise? We all kind of speculated that this might happen, which is why people had asked. People have been wondering. Inquiring minds have been asking for months. Yo, is he going to do it? Are you going to do it? It seems like he might do it. It looks like he's probably going to do it. He finally does it, and there's this outrage. Like, nah, I've seen it coming. And a lot of us did.
Ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, has made that point. So are we shocked that regular, everyday Americans don't get the same special treatment that a Biden does? No, we're not. We just thought it might stop because Biden said it would. Why did we believe him? That's on us. And by the way, he's in Angola today. I had Rich Edson from the Fox Business Network and FNC, Fox News Channel, earlier on my program reporting. I said, why Angola? It's an oil-rich nation with some of the greatest amount of food insecurity on the planet. Why go there right now? And Rich said, well, you know, they have a lot of ties to China right now because China's moving into southwestern African continent, just like they did in the northern part of that continent. So blah, blah, blah. What are we learning? Who did dealings with China? Whose hands might be a little messy? Where are you going? Who are you talking to? Watch what he does. Remember, he said, watch me. Oh, we're watching. 49 days. We got our eyes on you, Biden.
And here's what we should watch for. I think we have this. This is Karine Jean-Pierre just moments ago telling us that something is going to happen from President Biden. Listen to this.
It sounds like he thinks there could be further prosecution of Hunter under a Trump administration.
He didn't believe that they would let up, right? He didn't think that they would continue to go after his son. That's what he believed. And look, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals to the original part of your question.
So more pardons are coming, Cheryl Casoni. maybe Jim Biden? Just asking.
The president's brother. And that was one of the first questions that was asked this morning on the heels of this breaking news. And I want to pick up on something Charles said, which is very important. This goes back to 2014. That is when Hunter Biden joined the board of Burisma. That is the energy company that he did not, let's be honest, did have the resume to serve upon. So there's been many questions, thanks to James Comer and his lengthy amount of investigations that he has had in his committee. James Comer quoted this morning saying it's the tip of the iceberg. So did Joe Biden pardon Hunter? Yes. Is he maybe going to come out with another sweeping pardon in advance of James Biden? He could. There actually is precedent. Gerald Ford did that for Richard Nixon.
Oh, wow.
So it could be crimes not charged, crimes.
And what's going on, everybody? We already got almost 100 of y'all in here, bro. Like the video. Go ahead and do the stream a favor. We're just getting started. Good to see everybody. Happy Monday night, man. Hopefully everybody's day went well. Let's get the stream going off on a good note, man. Drop a like if you haven't already. Double tap the screen for your boy. But you could also hit the 3 buttons in the upper right-hand corner. Let's make it a fire one, man. Just kind of wanted to go over some of this Biden pardoning his son. I know we probably touched on it last night. Just wanted to go a little bit deeper. It seems to be something everybody's talking about. So we're going to keep the conversation going on that. Let me know how y'all feel on the topic. Obviously got some more videos to follow this up with. Again, it's going to be a great stream, man. Go ahead and drop a like if you haven't already, man. We appreciate the support.
That have not been brought to a courtroom that could be included in a pardon of his brother. Absolutely. And James Comer is definitely gearing up for this right now.
The Ford pardon of Nixon was just as sweeping as this, with one difference. This covers double the amount of time. So you could call this Watergate. You have the people who love to say that on the left. So theoretically, you could make that case today. But look at this, Lisa, the Politico headline. Leave it to the media. I know you know what I'm talking about. The Politico headline last night, Republicans pounce on Biden pardoning his son, Hunter. The headline could not be, Biden told us he would never do something that he actually did.
Well, and excuse me while I pounce right now. So that's what I will be doing. I think the one thing people are missing in this is it's not about Hunter Biden. It's about Joe Biden. This isn't an act of fatherly love. This is an act of self-preservation by Joe Biden. He uses his son as a pawn to enrich his entire family off of his own, office of the vice presidency, his various positions of power. And then he uses his son as a pawn to cut off potential avenues to himself and his involvement with his son's business dealings, which of course he had lied to us previously. As Cheryl pointed out, January 1st, 2014, that's the year when Hunter Biden joined the board of Burisma. By the way, the same company that Joe Biden went and threatened Ukraine with withholding United States money from Ukraine to get the prosecutor general fired who was investigating Burisma Holdings. We know because of the Ways and Means Committee that Hunter Biden made over $8 million between the periods of 2014 to 2019 from countries like Ukraine. We also know from whistleblowers that the Department of Justice allowed the statute of limitations to run out on the Burisma money for Hunter Biden, that also the FBI didn't allow IRS investigators to look at Hunter Biden's laptop. So to me, this isn't about Hunter Biden. This is about Joe Biden. So let's just say he's not getting a Dad of the Year mug for Christmas.
That's true.
Yeah, and maybe that is a great point, is this whole situation with the Bidens is shrouded in conspiracy. Biden's son was appointed as a leader of Ukrainian energy company, was reported to the commissions of the Ukrainian energy company, made $9 million from, I believe she said, 2014 to 2019. This man was appointed. He wasn't necessarily given the job off of meritocracy or accomplishments. So it does stand to reason that a lot of these things, that a lot of these moves regarding pardoning Joe Biden, or I'm sorry, Hunter Biden, it does stand to reason that Joe Biden is doing this out of self-preservation. He's doing this to protect himself. He's doing this to navigate certain things that might be coming his way. Strategic move more so than a move made out of love for his son.
True. And I would just say, as we go to break, they said that this weekend he made this decision, I guess, over his turkey and gravy. Okay. NBC reported that he had been talking about this back until June. This is NBC, kind of a friend of the Biden White House. And their last line, they said it was decided at the time he would publicly say he would not pardon his son, even though doing so remained on the table. So you were all deceived. That's NBC, a Biden ally.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my
And if anything, I think we should all be enraged that the president literally told us he wasn't going to do something, set it up, repeated itself. Representatives of the president repeated the same message, and they did the exact opposite. I don't care what president it is. I don't care, Democrat, Republican. If y'all like that guy or not, that shouldn't raise you as a U.S. citizen, because not only does that exemplify the president can almost do and say what he wants, he could do one thing while saying another. It exemplifies that they really don't need our approval on anything. They really don't need our say so. They really don't need us to co-sign any moves that they're making. We weren't asked. They didn't check in with us and say, like, hey, would you guys mind if I pardon my son? No, that was something he literally lied about because they knew what the public reaction would be. And then as the clock was ticking out of his presidency, he made the move as he was heading out the door. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. It says a lot. But we're going to transition into the next video. This is the host of The View speaking on the same situation of Hunter Biden and him getting pardoned. Whoa. And you see how some of these liberals just come to the defense of anything Joe Biden or Kamala Harris does. They can justify almost anything. It's almost sick. Like, how many times did he say he wasn't going to do it, and then he did it? And then now they're over here trying to obfuscate by saying, oh, it wasn't technically a lie. He didn't technically lie. Let's change the wording. Let's change the verbiage. It wasn't really a lie. Like, okay.
I respect it as a parent. I understand why he would do it, but I wonder to understand why lie about it for so long.
I would stop calling it a lie.
Okay, why repeatedly say you're not going to and you do? And secondarily, for the part of this country, half of it that doesn't support Biden, doesn't know him personally, doesn't get to have phone calls, and they're just looking at a system that seems like it only benefits the people who are in power.
I'm going to say,
what precedent does that set?
Well,
he said is what presidents do. Now, granted, yes, the presidents are known. It is standard for presidents to make these type of moves heading out the White House, pardons, whether it be political delegates, or, you know, even when Trump was in office, I think he pardoned Kodak Black. It could be celebrities, it could be political delegates, it could be almost anything, right? We've seen presidents do this in the past. It is a standard, right? It is to be expected. But for the move to be written off as something he was never going to do, because again, people who have been paying attention seen this, they foresaw it. They said, it looks like he might pardon his son for his crimes. Like, this was something that people had been talking about for the months leading up to the event. And for him to do at every corner, for any time he was questioned on it, for him to deny it. And again, representatives of Biden, speakers for Biden denied it just as well. For him to actually do it when given the opportunity, it just says a lot. It's a little bit disrespectful, and it just says a lot. Like, they're going to say one thing and do another is almost the message I get. Who he pardoned. It's not about who he pardoned. Trump was never asked months leading up to his presidency coming to an end, bro, are you going to pardon this person specifically? Are you going to pardon this group of people? Or will you pardon this name? That wasn't the case. That's a fair comparison. Us being like, well, Trump pardoned people too. No shit. Every president almost does. Obama did the same thing. I'm sure if you trace it back even beyond that, Bush, this is standard. This is standard for presidents to do as they're leaving the White House. And I'm not even going to say that this is the first controversial pardon that's happened. I can't think of the exact instance, but I think George W. Bush. Oh, I actually do remember off the top of my head, George W. Bush pardoned a dead man, a dead, deceased man. Yes. So there is pardons that are very controversial when they're made that presidents have made in our history. But for it to be this egregious and for it to be something he was asked about, and for him to deny he would do it, and then for him to turn around and do it, yeah, it's completely disrespectful. And this is exactly my point, chat. So Griffin added Biden's pardon feeds the notion to a lot of this country that there's simply a different set of rules for those in power. Different strokes for different folks, as I call it. Yeah, I'm Biden. I'm the president. I have the power. I call the shots. I know what I said I wasn't going to do, but hey, I report to no one. Not you, not you, not you guys. I report to nobody. So yeah, as I leave a parting gift to my last name, I'm going to pardon my son. It is what it is. And it just so happens that that puts me in position to where I benefit as well. I pardon my son. I uncross some wires, conflict of interest aside. He can't testify in this case against me. Yeah. Don't worry about all that. Just know I did it because I'm big dog Biden and I call the shots. It's crazy. And then when you kind of uncover why he may have done it, when you kind of follow the rabbit hole, when you go a little bit deeper, when you do the research on, how Biden's son got appointed to these Ukrainian energy boards, when you do the research of what investigations were going on, what the cases uncovered, it does stand to reason that Biden made this move strategically to defend his own self, to protect his own interests. Crazy stuff, guys. Crazy stuff. But make sure to like the video. We got over 100 of you guys in here, man. We just getting started on tonight's stream. Go ahead and like the video, man. We're recovering Biden pardoning his son. Crazy stuff, man. Let me know how y'all feel about this in the chat. Was it a move that was justified? Is this fatherly love? Or is this something that we should all be a little bit more concerned about, man? Let me know. Double tap the screen. Let's get some more folks in on the conversation. Yeah, felon in possession of a gun, that's some serious time too, guys. That ain't no slap on the wrist. You could be looking at some serious time for that charge. So here it says, for months, President Biden asserted he would not pardon Hunter after he was charged in 2 separate cases for felony gun and tax convictions. The tax convictions, that's white collar. We're not really too worried about that, right? Felony gun? Ooh, that was gonna be some time, guys. It's the same drug problem that they've tried to cover up for all of Biden's presidency. No one wanted to acknowledge, they didn't want to recognize it. And now, when his court cases are ultimately headline news, when the option to come up, or when the option presented itself for Biden to pardon his son, now we can acknowledge it. Now we dignify it and say, well, yeah, he does have a drug problem, but addiction is a true disease and we shouldn't judge him for it. I can see it now. The headlines write themselves. But to flip it on his head and say, well, Trump did the same thing. The only thing different is he didn't have a drug problem. He wasn't addicted to any drug. Like, okay, hold on a second. For the longest, y'all told us he wasn't guilty. For the longest, y'all told us there was no laptop. For the longest, y'all said that was conspiracy. He didn't have a drug problem. That wasn't his cocaine they found in the White House. But now, since he's got pardoned, I guess it's safe to kind of acknowledge all that stuff that they said wasn't true for the longest. Well, now that he's not going to face any ramification for any of the things he's done, now that he's not going to face justice for any of the things he done, I guess it's okay to kind of acknowledge that, yeah, he did kind of do some of these things. He did have a drug issue, all that good stuff. Like, wow, crazy.
Here's what it says. It's a precedent for all of us to open our eyes because we've elected someone who is in a similar situation, who didn't have a drug problem, who knew what he was doing, who clearly stood and said.
September, he pleaded guilty to not paying at least $1.4 million in taxes. And many times Joe has been asked, "Are you going to pardon your son? Are you going to pardon your son?" Look, he's considering it. There's no doubt about that. But at least we know that Joe Biden thinks that.
Imagine being able to go out there, do drugs freely without discretion, lie on applications, fornicate with your deceased brother's wife, cause all type of mayhem, bring all type of negative attention to your last name, only to be pardoned without a slap on the wrist because your dad is the president of the United States. Imagine the freedom. Imagine the freedom in somebody like that, never having to account for any of the stuff they did. It's the ultimate privilege. But yeah, my dad will clean that up. I ain't too worried about that. I'm just going to go ahead and pawn this laptop off for a few hundred, even though it has all this incriminating stuff on me and my family. And I ain't too worried. That'll get handled. Secret Service, they'll clean that up. My dad he'll make all that noise go away. And that's probably exactly what he thought. Because you got to imagine the hubris of somebody who's just making all these moves, not caring about the crumbs they leave behind. He was living life on a high, and it didn't catch up until it caught up to him. And even when it did catch up to him, his dad bailed him out. Crazy as hell. After he said multiple times he wouldn't. This should enrage anybody. If you're sitting here paying attention, if you've been following the timeline as all the things have unfolded, this should upset anybody. We were lied to.
No one, not even his son, is above the law.
I'm calling for a constitutional amendment called No One is Above the Law Amendment. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law. The American principle that no one.
Hey! I see some people in the chat saying, "Hey," and that's how he should have did it. He should have pardoned his son. No problem. I don't see the issue. If I was Biden, I would have did the same thing. Okay, fair enough. But are y'all not seeing the inconsistencies right here? No one's above the law. I'm not going to pardon him. White House representative saying no, he's not going to pardon him. Getting frustrated, irritating when pressed further on the question. Multiple times they came out and said, nah, this ain't going to be a thing, only for them to turn it into a thing. That's where the outrage is. That's where the backlash comes from. It's not that he did it. Pardons are standard. As I just said, George W. Bush pardoned a deceased man on his way out. There's no, we're not even mad that the pardon is controversial per se. We're upset about the fact that he said he wouldn't do it and he turned around and did it. That's the fact that people are upset about.
Above the law amendment. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law. The American principle.
As much as a liar you want to say Trump is, y'all want to say you can't buy anything that comes out of Trump's mouth. He's a liar. He'll sell somebody out to save his own ass. He'll tell whatever lie he needs to tell in the moment to save his own ass. You can't trust him for as far as you can throw him. As much as y'all want to say that about Trump, it's starting to look like Biden. It's starting to sound and look like the pot calling the kettle. Because every time you look up, Biden is doing something that fits the narrative that y'all try and paint on Trump. Oh, you can't trust that guy. You can't. Y'all believe something he said? I could almost say the same thing about Biden. No, matter of fact, I can. Y'all really believe in Biden? Y'all really still giving him the airtime, the time of day, hearing this man out? He said multiple times he wasn't going to do it, and then he turned around and did. You lost all credibility with me after something like that.
Y'all believe him if you want to. Above the law was reaffirmed. The justice system should be respected, and we should never allow anyone to tear it down. Those responsible can be held accountable. And my administration,
and that's what kills me, chat. He was always going to do it. And the intellectuals, I wouldn't even necessarily say the intellectuals, the people who are politically engaged and who actually pay attention, had the forethought to come out and ask. You had journalists, you had influencers, you had people who, again, follow politics saying, the trajectory is kind of pointing towards you pardoning your son at the end of your presidency. People started talking. The question was formulated. They were formally asked and denied it. That's what kills me, chat. Oh, well, Trump pardoned people too. I hate that tit for tat. Well, I did it, so you get to do it too. And it doesn't even fit. It doesn't even fit right there, guys. It is even equivalent. Every president has pardoned folks on their way out. But for him to be point blank asked, lie about it, and then turn around and do the thing he was asked about, that's a little bit different.
In my mind, no one is above the law.
And don't fear, he has been personally asked this question multiple times. Will you pardon your own son? No way.
Your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. With regard to the question regarding the family, I'm extremely proud of my son, Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know. And I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision. And I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
And of course, his press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, has also been asked multiple times, and she has always said there is no way this will happen.
When would the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear, and I said no.
I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying that without...
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no. And I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
And the Democrat fanboys have always said there is no way this could happen. I mean, take Andrew Weissman, for example, a lawyer in the US who said Mr. Biden is living the rule of law.
What is before us is a president who is living the rule of law. He is living it in in the most personal way. He is not pardoning his son, which he could do. These are federal charges. Right. He is not doing that. He is not doing it because he is living what it means to have a rule of law in this country. I'm not saying that he should get credit for it because it is the right thing to do.
That's the norm, but Trump is beneath it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine my shock when I woke up this morning and Joe Biden had pardoned his son, Hunter. Yes, after all those times saying it would never, ever happen, that is exactly what he did on his way out of the Oval Office. Now, you will remember all the lawfare cases that were run against Donald Trump. They are now effectively dead because he will be the 47th president of the United States.
Now, chat, I really care to hear from y'all on this. Y'all let me know what y'all stance is. I think the thing that is most egregious with this, again, is the fact that they lied. They didn't just come out and say it. I can respect the honesty. Again, I'm somebody who respects overt honesty. Overt. Be upfront. Be direct. Be transparent. Like, look, I ain't gonna lie. I'm the president. I'm Big Dog Biden. Like, shit, I might do it. I might not. Ask me again in a few months. Check the temperature, come back, see how I'm feeling. I might have the same answer. I might not. I'm the big dog, though. Whatever I say goes. It's my boy. Y'all think I'm about to let him do some time? Bro, I can respect the honesty. Like, you know what? Goddamn, like, pretty cool. Shit, I guess if I want the same power, I got to be in the same position. Or beyond that, again, just the transparency. The honesty is something that you can respect rather than being lied to, being led along. The duplicitous behavior or the duplicitous ways of it, just the lie, the upfront lie. But it's crazy. That's something that you just can't respect. Let me know how y'all feel on that, chat. And shout out Wifey Hernandez XO, man, $2. Hey, checking in. What's going on, Wifey? How you doing, girl? Good to see you.
But, we were told there's nothing to see here. There's no problem. But we were saying, actually, no. What's happened here is that the law has been weaponized against a political candidate. Now, remember, Biden said no one is above the law. The Democrats continually said, look, if Trump has broken the law.
Oh, yeah, and that's the first super chat of the stream. We appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
He should face the consequences. Well, what does Biden now say about his son? He says that this case was infected by raw politics and it led to a miscarriage of justice. And if it weren't for the fact that Hunter Biden was Joe Biden's son, that they would never have gone after him. So, of course, he hands down the pardon. And the pardon, by the way, does not just apply to the gun offences and it doesn't just apply to the tax offences. He just put a blanket pardon over everything that Hunter may or may not have done between January and December 2014. Things that haven't even been brought yet.
Nah, that's the scary part. That's the scary part. So when some of this other stuff gets brought to light. Some of the stuff that has been written off as conspiracy theory, some of this stuff that has been written off as propaganda, when some of this is more concrete, when some of this is a little bit more light is shown on some of the stuff that was on the laptop, some of the things that they said he's done, when we know a little bit more. And some of us have been on this Hunter Biden laptop story for the better part of 2-3 years. But again, this is still something that hasn't really necessarily hit mainstream media with good reason. That has been done with intent. But when more of us know, when some of the people who have been trying to deny that story are forced to look at it and say, y'all are telling me because of the pardon put on that man, he's not ever going to face any justice for any of this stuff. That's the craziest part. A blanket pardon. Like, look, I ain't just pardoning from what what y'all claim he's done. I'm not, this isn't just for that. This is a blank slate pardon, meaning he's good for the stuff y'all said he did. He's good for the stuff y'all might say he did. I don't care. Y'all ain't touching my boy. That's some crazy power. I mean, God damn. He just flexed on the whole country. Like, look, I don't care what y'all say. It's my boy. He's not going to jail.
Necessarily. It is an extraordinary move, which of course he lied through his teeth about. But, you know, I suppose, can you blame the bloke? He's on his way out. He has those powers, which is an extraordinary thing in the first place. And he's just decided to go and do it. He clearly doesn't give a toss anymore. Why would he care after he's been deposed by Kamala and co? He's just doing whatever he can on the way out to get his and say, up yours.
Yep. There sure was, bro. That's what they said as well. Yep. That laptop tells it all, y'all. Like I say, I see some people in the chat, they are privy to the laptop. They've done a little bit of research on the laptop, seen a thing or two, heard a thing or two. A lot of people still deny the existence of the laptop. There's a lot of forces out there working so people don't know about the existence of the laptop. But even when, because the internet has its ways, even when that's brought to light, because what's done in the dark can only be done in the dark for so long before it hits the light. Even when that becomes more of a mainstream topic, they're never going to put that on CNN or Fox News, even for that matter. But when more people start to realize that it exists, you can't even charge it for anything that's on there. They've already said that. This is a blank pardon. Like, look, I don't care what he did, what he didn't do, what y'all said he did. He's good. That's the most egregious part for me. Like, wow, okay. I guess we should all aspire to be the president. That way, if any of our families out here doing dirt, we can write it off. We could keep them out of jail. We could keep them from doing any serious, really keep them from any responsibility for their actions. Because that's damn near what it is. At the end of the day, he's not having to account for any of the stuff he's done, any of the crimes committed. And that's what honestly is most scary as an American citizen. But we're going to transition into this Piers Morgan panel. They talked about the same thing. Again, guys, this is something that everyone's talking about right now, something we all need to be informed on, because this is crazy, guys. This is wild.
Now I'm starting to wonder, was that his cocaine in the White House?
This is me playing the world's smallest violin for their fake hypocritical outrage.
The reason I'm so pissed off, it helps Trump. When he pardons the January 6 rioters, it will be just that much more acceptable to them.
I don't really care about this pardon. What I care about is the
Facts. And that has been a topic of discussion as well. Like, will Trump pardon the January 6 rioters as they're classified? Yeah, and it gives him a little bit more justification in doing so if he does decide to do that. Oh, well, he's pardoning criminals. Like, well, didn't the sitting president just do that? Didn't the sitting president just exonerify his son from charges? Didn't he say that not only is he pardoned from things y'all said he's done, he's pardoned for a 10-year period of crimes that haven't even been uncovered yet. Things y'all don't even know he did, he's good on. So yeah, if Trump does decide to make that move, I would say he's fully justified. You can't even make the assessment of, oh well, Trump is standing next to criminals, he's pardoning criminals. That's exactly what Biden just did.
Level of deception.
The high moral ground.
What's going on?
Extremely rocky.
Good to see you.
For Democrats.
In a minute, bro.
Effectively neutered. President Biden has pardoned the turkey and handed a late Thanksgiving gift to Donald Trump. Hunter Biden was convicted in June of 3 felony charges over the purchase of a gun and 9 tax evasion charges in a separate case in September. His father, the president, has repeatedly and emphatically pledged not to interfere.
I'm extremely proud of myself.
And understand again, he honestly, this is pure speculation. I'm just putting this together. This is just my analysis as I compute this. Honestly, Biden could care less that he just laid that up to Trump like that. He could care less that he just kind of gave Trump ammo and pardoning, or shout out Hellbat 12, man, $2, 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me. Yeah, man. But yeah, honestly, Biden could care less that he just kind of gave Trump a little bit of more ammo or a little bit more freedom in pardoning who he wants to pardon. He did this move strategically to protect his last name, to protect himself from any charges. Again, because some of the stuff that Hunter Biden is accused of might implicate his father of some crime. So again, guys, you got to see this as a move not only made out of nepotism, hey, I'm going to help my son out, but a move made to save his own ass. So I could care less what Trump does with his power, how he uses his pardons. I'm going to be on a beach in Delaware somewhere chilling. All I care about is ain't nobody bothering me or disturbing my last name. Make sure to like the video, guys.
Son Hunter, he has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know. And I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
But now he has, and the language used in a lengthy statement released to justify this screeching 180-degree turn is the final nail in the coffin of Biden's credibility. He called the prosecution selective and unfair. He said raw politics of political opponents has led to a miscarriage of justice, and that the only reason the convictions ever happened was because of a political campaign. Compare that to the words used by Trump and his supporters about the spurious story Stormy Daniels' conviction and try to spot the difference.
This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent, and I think it's just a disgrace.
Well, he was right. There's no difference besides the Trumpian rhetorical flourish. And when President Trump starts issuing pardons for the January 6th rioters, which he will blame on a political campaign and a miscarriage of justice, the Democrats...
Like, think about it. He done sick the dogs on Trump, said, hey, go get him, boys, on Trump. But he put the dogs in the cage when it came to his own son. That's some pretty sick. That's pretty nasty work, chat. Pretty nasty work. And again, it is just one of those things where I get it. You're president. You got ultimate power. But damn, to flex it like that is crazy. To flex it like that is crazy. And then gaslight us in real time and say, well, Trump did pardons too. Every president does pardons. Well, every president isn't questioned about who he's going to pardon. Lie on the spot, on TV, on the mic, say no, and then turn around when the opportunity presents itself and do the exact opposite of what he said would do. That's something exclusive to Biden. You can't really say that about Trump or really any other president. How many presidents have been asked, like, hey, will you pardon a specific individual? They said no, came back when it was time and actually pardoned that person. How many presidents have done that?
Will find they have tumbled off the high moral ground and landed flat on their hypocritical faces. Now, look, I don't blame Joe Biden for looking out for his troubled son, whom he clearly loves and respects. I'd have done the same. In fact, I even suggested a month ago that Donald Trump should consider pardoning Hunter Biden as a unifying gesture in these febrile times. But that's because I've been repeatedly assured that President Biden is a man of his word, and his words are so often been like this.
Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States.
But now everybody is equal under the law except the President of the United States and his children. When Trump is inevitably
in the save face, I honestly can agree with Piers Morgan right there. It might have even been a better look overall for Biden to get in touch with Trump's camp and work that move out in the background. Like, hey, pardon my son, we'll work on some things here and there. You know, let's just, for the American people, send a message of unity, have Hunter pardoned. We'll go about it this way, or we'll work this deal out in the background, whatever, what have you, bada boom, bada bing. That probably would have been a little bit more palpable, a little bit more acceptable. I necessarily still wouldn't have loved it, having what knowing what I know about Hunter Biden and some of the crimes he's accused of. That might not still be something I technically approve of, but I think it would have been a better look overall versus him lying about it for months on end. Anybody who speaks for Biden saying the same thing, repeating the same lie, telling us it wouldn't be done. And at the first opportunity for it to be done, he does it. He does it. That's a bold-faced lie if I've ever seen one. You can obfuscate and say, well, now he wasn't technically lying. Well, he just told it. It doesn't matter. We've seen the clips. We've seen the videos. We've seen the proof for our own eyes. He said everybody should be held to the same standard. No one's above the law. Specifically said, no, I would not pardon him. And then what does he do?
Tact for taking care of his family and supporters over the next few months. Expect an aggressive and curt two-word.
And it would have made, honestly, that would have been so much of a better move because it would have made Trump look good. Like, yeah, I know we had some bad blood, but it is what it is. We're all Americans. It doesn't matter if your name is whatever. It doesn't matter if your last name is Biden. I stand for you, and I want us all to be on one accord. It would have sent a great message, not only to Republicans, but to Democrats. And I think that could have been a major unifier as Trump began his presidency. And it would have been two birds, one stone. Biden or Hunter Biden still gets pardoned. Maybe it wasn't beat by his dad, but he still gets a pardon. But for Biden himself, for Joe Biden himself to do it, all it did was prove to all of us that he's not necessarily a man of his word. That he's somebody who will say one thing while doing another.
Word response, Hunter Biden. In just a moment, we'll debate all the latest from my panel. But first, I'm joined by the former Democratic mega donor, John Morgan. John, thank you so much for joining me. First of all, your reaction as a former Democratic mega donor to this bombshell news overnight that President Biden, after repeated and emphatic denials he would do this, has now pardoned his criminal son, Hunter.
Well, I'm not surprised at all, and I'll tell you why. If you look at Joe Biden in context, years ago, he lost a child and a wife in a car accident. He's then raising these small children. He raises two boys. One turns out to be an addict. One turns out to be the next great thing. The one who turned out to be the next great thing, Bo, dies also.